Good evening. Thank you for joining us at San Francisco Weekly News. My name is Diane Wesley Smith. This is a very interesting time in San Francisco. And first of all, I'd like to say that no matter who you voted for, we have a great mayor. Her name is Mayor London Breed. And we'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate her. It doesn't matter who you voted for. What matters now is now that we have our mayor in place, that we go forward together, supporting our mayor and our other elected officials. If anyone isn't, if any of our elected officials are not performing or addressing or performing up to the standards that they promise, in any office, and this certainly, I promise you, is not directed at Mayor Breed, but we have a litany of candidates, and we have more that were elected, and we have more coming, and we also have people that are already elected. So it's time to be accountable. And what's great about having Mayor Breed is she was not an incumbent, so she does have an opportunity to do things in a new way with all the resources at her disposal. So we want to keep our glass half full, not half empty. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little fun first. The reason the title says facts every San Franciscan should, and then dot, dot, dot is every San Franciscan should know or probably would like to know. Because we know there are a lot of people here. There are more people here in San Francisco that have moved to San Francisco that were not born here. So we have a lot of new San Franciscans, and we are going to all have to come together and work for the good of our city. There's some developments, and we'll get to that. First thing we're going to do is have a little fun, and then we're going to end on a serious note. Actually, the fun part is serious as well. So, the first thing I want to share with you, a lot of these things you know already. Despite its reputation, our reputation in our city is having crazy rent prices. There are places in the Bay Area that the average person can't afford. You just have to look outside the city center. There are places like Berkeley and Oakland that are just 10 to 15 minutes away by BART and can get you from BART and dropping you off downtown. So it works out for most people just fine. Also, always carry a jacket. It's still pretty much impossible to hail a cab in San Francisco. If you're from New York, it was very easy. And I love that experience. When we wanted a cab, we just had to raise our hand. Well, in San Francisco, if you want a cab, it's better to go to a hotel. The hotels have cabs waiting in line. The best tour at Alcatraz is at night. So Alcatraz, it's a fabulous tour, but the lights are bright. You can see the skyline of San Francisco, the East Bay. And a lot of you probably already noticed it's always rush hour in San Francisco. There used to be times that one could say, I'll get on the highway and I'll go make a run, or I'll run an errand. Well, now it's always rush hour. And we have to take these things in stride. And that's why we have to work with our elected officials. We have to work with San Francisco Public Utilities. We have to work with the people that are responsible for our infrastructure. We have to, they're all the entities. And I invite you to find out who those entities are. But this month, we will be, in the upcoming months, we'll be talking more about it. So maybe you're from New York and you thought you understood how expensive housing was. Well, you had no idea. I'm going to repeat that for emphasis. You had no idea. Most renters could afford absolute mansions anywhere else in the country, except maybe New York. But they'd get a significantly larger apartment than here in San Francisco. It's about $3,000 a month for a small one-bedroom here. Oh, never get rid of any of your costumes, because in San Francisco, there's always an occasion to wear your costumes. It could be the Bay to Breakers, could be Halloween, could be the black and white ball. We have a lot going on in our city. A lot of opportunities to wear your costumes. Oh, and make sure that your bank branches have ATMs in San Francisco, because you want to start carrying cash. So I'm not going to tell you the name of my bank, but I belong to a credit union. And when I travel, I have to make sure that there are branches there. But a lot of places will stop taking cash. It's always good to have cash, but no one is supposed to know what you have. I felt like someone's mom. I am old enough to be many of your mothers. Never let anyone know what you have. Relatively high number of coffee shops aren't taking cards anymore. BART. People stand in line at BART because we're polite that way. We stand in line so that we wait our turn. We don't bum rush. I'm not quite sure how it started, but I think it was the bum rushing that people started saying, let's wait in line. When you have a crowded area, a lot of people, and so we have, and the humans have needs, we have to become even more organized, and we have to become polite. If we weren't taught that, or most of us were, but if we're not being polite, just take a moment, step back for a moment, and think about the last time you looked someone in their eye, gave them a smile, or someone gave you a smile. Let's be polite to each other in San Francisco. We're only 49 square miles. It's time. Let's do it. I grew up in the city, and it was called the Fair City. We can do that again. Let's do that again. When your heart sinks and your heart is broken because you're walking down the street and you see someone homeless, or you see a homeless family, and you want to do something, do something. You can go to Glide, you can donate to Glide, you can donate to the San Francisco Food Bank, you can donate to the Hamilton Family Center. Glide, these places, Glide, the Food Bank, the Hamilton Family Center, and many others. Please forgive me for not mentioning now. The Bayview Senior Center as well. There's places throughout the city. You can donate to these organizations because the homeless go to these organizations for food. There's a lot of times served hot meals. They also, like at the food bank, they get bags of groceries and they get food items. So when your heart breaks, what we do, we want to do something about it. And that's pretty simple. You know, that allows me to sleep well at night, is because when something bothers me, it's not only for myself, but it's for others, and I do something about it. As I'm aging, the amount that I do is less, but I will do everything that I can for the well-being of another human being. Late night eats are almost impossible to find nowadays. If you've been in San Francisco for a long time, if you grew up here, do you remember we used to go to Pam Pam's East? We used to go to the Hippopotamus. We used to have 24-hour restaurants. Well, you know, when the drugs came, the restaurants had to start closing. So make sure that if you're going out, make sure you have your food ready. Have food at home. Have whatever you think you want. Go ahead and grab that ahead of time. If you have to ride with it in your car, in other words, put it in your trunk. But make sure that you have your food, because it's hard to find a good meal after 10 o'clock. Most every restaurant closes at 10 p.m., sometimes earlier. So eat before you go out, or make sure that your kitchen is stocked. Make sure you have your late night snacks. San Francisco's public transit system can be a little confusing. Muni and BART are better than, ours is better than in most U.S. cities, but ours is much worse than New York, and they don't connect each other. In general, don't believe the bus or train schedules. There are more suggestions than set times. So, check, and double check. Also, with regard to housing, Craigslist is a completely legitimate way to find housing. You never do it alone, and you have to meet them face to face. In a lot of other cities, it can be sketchy. In San Francisco, it's definitely not. You still need to be aware of scams. But if you're looking to pay less than $3,000 a month for a place to live, hit up Craigslist. the best way to keep yourself from getting scammed is to insist on seeing the person and seeing the place ahead of time. Don't sign anything until you've had an opportunity to have, and don't give any personal information. None. You get their information. And I say, as a licensed real estate broker, it is not necessary for you to provide us with information. It is necessary for us to provide you with information. Okay, so be careful. The best way to keep yourself from getting scammed is to just take your time, gather the information. Don't make sudden decisions. If someone is rushing you and saying, oh, you better hurry up because we have 5 other people lined up, well, maybe that's the right apartment for them and not for you. You rarely need a car inside San Francisco, except for the OGs like myself and other senior citizens, or usually they're taking rides using Lyft and things like that. But there's a lot of us baby boomers that are still in the San Francisco drive. And so it's been very interesting as we've seen the emergence of alternative riding systems. So there's a Muni bus system and there's a Muni train system. It's better if it's a letter. It's like the N Judah, then it's underground to Civic Center. Well, they call it City Center now. We used to call it Civic Center. If it's a number, like the 38 Gary, then it's above ground. It's on the street. So if it's a letter, it's a Muni train and it's running underground. And at some point, it will certainly go underground. Sometimes they come up, but they certainly go underground. And if it's a number, it's a regular bus, a street bus. When you're checking Google Maps to get somewhere, double check the public transportation route. If it tells you to take the Powell Street cable car, you'll be waiting half an hour amongst other tourists. So look at the alternatives. What we don't do, since you live here now, what we don't do is we don't take the routes that our wonderful tourists take. Okay, we don't do that. So Waze is pretty good. Waze does not know all the ways and a lot of the ways that a lot of us that are natives here know, but I tell you, it's pretty good. I only have my bag of tricks is not as large as it used to be. I have about 1/3 of the ways, the little highway byways, the shortcuts, about 1/3 left. But that's to be expected. The city is growing and changing, and if I'm to remain, which I will unless the Lord says otherwise, I have to continue to grow and change and improve and help as many people as I can. So let's talk about housing, you guys. The housing, we're going to be talking about one of the great things about our new mayor and all of the candidates, but they are irrelevant now. Mayor London Breed will be our mayor until 2020. And if she does a good job, which I have every reason to believe that she's going to, because she knows that we all need her to represent us. So I don't believe that now that she is mayor, that she will not represent all of San Francisco. And we need to unify and help her represent all of San Francisco in any way that we can, in a positive way, in a respectful way, and in a dignified way. Of course, you have freedom of speech. That goes without saying, but we need not be rude. So these are a couple of the things that we have to look at. First of all, let me share with you, the Board of Supervisors meets every Tuesday at 2 o'clock at City Hall. If you have a concern about anything, that's where you go. Your supervisor will be usually at that meeting, and you get to see what their attendance is like. I'm hoping that I expect supervisors to show up and do their jobs for the various communities, and you should expect your supervisor to show up and assist you in your concerns. So in San Francisco, some of the things that are happening, the beautiful part of it is that we're expanding and growing. The horrible part is that I'm seeing San Francisco become a local government sector dominated by bureaucrats. And when I spoke about a machine, that was my fear. That is my fear. That is my, more than fear, that is my indignation that bureaucrats should run our city. That has to stop. We cannot allow that. That has to stop because there are policies and programs that are facilitating the market, is facilitating the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people. It has. And it's now still facilitating the displacement of thousands of people. An alarming underinvestment in urban infrastructure is another issue that has to be addressed. And that includes, part of the infrastructure is affordable housing. Now, as a real estate professional, member of the Bayview Hunters Point Real Estate Professionals, and as a licensed broker and native San Franciscan, affordable housing has never been addressed properly. We have an opportunity. Anyone that's been watching our show for the last 7 or 8 years know that we have been adamant. Actually, that was one of the reasons I received my license. I earned my license and then later became a broker, was because of the lack of information about affordable housing. Affordable housing works like this. It works like the rent that one pays is in accordance to what they are able to afford. So, if one has a very low income, according to the California Health and Safety Code, okay, very low, very, very low, very low, low, low middle, etc. There is supposed to be affordable housing to meet all income levels. It is heartbreaking to see people that are in my income category getting affordable housing while those who are who are being displaced, they don't have a chance. And then we got the lottery system. That lottery system was the worst thing that happened to housing in San Francisco. First worst thing, we did not get affordable housing. There were not community real estate professionals at the table to amplify the voices of San Franciscans. What did that mean? That mean that we had the lottery system that was not to the advantage of a big business. It was to the disadvantage of each and every one who needed affordable housing. Then they failed to address the various levels. So why is it that you have to make almost $100,000 so that you can get affordable housing, but there's nothing for the 30s to the 40s to the 50s? Teachers, firemen, veterans should never have to worry. These are issues that, first of all, the veterans should never have to worry about housing. Teachers, firemen, the people that support our society, police officers should have the ability to live in the city where they work. That's part of the disconnect. Alarming underinvestment in infrastructure. A growing assault on democratic government. Private sector is trying to come in and change the laws. For example, we vote on something. Let me read this. Growing assault on local demographic government, specifically aimed at San Francisco, led by, at the state level, real estate speculators and their legislative allies. So you have the community brokers. That's why I use the term community brokers. And then you have there's good people out there, but unfortunately the majority are snakes and barracudas. There's a large number of snakes and barracudas, but the laws that are being enacted are not people friendly. And I'm a member of an association that do not vote for certain things that the association pushes for because I know it's wrong. Like height limits. We said we only wanted a certain height limit at the Embarcadero. Well, now they want to circumvent it, and they want to say that they're rewording what we've already voted for. And now they want to say that they can change the height limit and it does not require going on the ballot. Doesn't require being a ballot measure. You guys, we got to wake up. No more double dealing behind the door. Then we've got a rapidly growing resegregation of our civic life involving a toxic brew of race and systematic underemployment of people of color and the emergence of the tech and developer-funded astroturf of 30-something white people demanding housing policies aimed at displacing low-income residents and communities of color. Now, understand, most white people, they're not trying to displace anyone. The techies that are coming here, they want a place to stay also. But if there's a way, this is America, this is San Francisco, the fair city, there's a way that this must be done in decency and in order. So I say, let's pull the brakes. We have a new mayor. Let's take another look because Mayor Lee failed us miserably. And everything, he was such a pleasant man, God rest his soul. It was hard to get mad at him, but you had to stay focused because he left us, what he did was not friendly to the community. It has displaced us. It has allowed real estate speculation to be at an all-time high. I'm glad that the measure, many of us voted for the measure that will provide legal representation to people that are facing eviction, because it's a dubious process. And I'm always available for you. My number is 415-657-BVHP for Bayview Hunters Point. 415-657-2847. If I can help you in any way, that's what I'm here to do. I want to thank you for joining us. You'll see this show again for this month. Take care and God bless.